Can you use copper chains to craft copper chainmail? Is it cheaper to make a copper chest by building a golem first? And here are 25 myths answered about the Copper Age drop. Starting with, can you use the copper golems as lightning rods? Well, they certainly have a lightning rod on their head, set to weather the thunder. And the truth is that we might be waiting for a while, because while there is an equal chance that any of these blocks get struck by lightning, as soon as I place down an actual lightning rod, there you go. That gets struck by lightning as expected. It even gives off the particles to let you know it's working. But our copper golems, they're just fine, and thankfully so. Myth busted. This myth says that we can use copper chains to craft up copper chainmail. Let's give it a shot here. Regardless of what any YouTube thumbnails are going to tell you, this myth is busted. Oxidized copper lightning rods are less likely to get struck by lightning than regular copper lightning rods. Well, we've got oxidized copper lightning rods here on the left, regular copper lightning rods on the right. Let's summon in the thunder and give it a shot. Well, looking at how the particles are showing up, it definitely doesn't seem like they're any less likely. Well, there we go. We got one for the right side. Any for the left? There we go. So it's the exact same. It just comes down to random chance. Myth busted. This myth says that lightning will remove a lightning rod's wax. So we have a waxed exposed lightning rod here. Let's see if I strike it with lightning. And then if I middle mouse click it again, it's still the waxed exposed lightning rod. Another thing that's interesting, even if we have a non-waxed version of the lightning rod on top of the waxed block, it still doesn't deoxidize. So myth busted. This myth says that the copper golem oxidizes faster underwater. So let's take our copper golem statue and place it underwater, and we'll place one right up here. And now if we increase the random tick speed, so this one oxidized here first, and now we've got the one underwater. But there's nothing in the code that says that it should be any different whether it's in water or without. Myth busted. This myth says the copper blocks and copper golems that we're getting are being added into our copper trial chambers. And if we go and explore in here, you'll notice that all of the generation is exactly the same. Nothing's changed, and unfortunately so. I mean, there are chains inside of these copper trial chambers. Why would you not make these copper chains? So myth busted, and myth unfortunately busted. This myth says that it is impossible to stop your oxidized golems from turning into statues. Alright, so we've got our oxidized copper golem here, but because it has this one state before it fully turns into a statue, we could still save it, either by using an axe, or if you want to prevent it completely, honeycomb does the trick. So this myth is busted. You cannot push a copper golem statue with a piston. So let's take our different copper golem statues, place one down, push, and in fact, the piston will break it. This myth is true, and in fact, it is true in all of the different variants of the copper golem. If you wanted it moving, you should have used a living golem. So if I were to build up a copper golem, this myth states that by middle mouse clicking to do the pick block on the golem, it'll give me the statue instead of the golem. But that's not true. It gives me the copper golem spawn egg. And look at that new spawn egg texture too. So myth busted. This myth says that copper golems will drop their flower when they become a statue. So we've got a copper golem here with a flower that it got from an iron golem. And once this little guy turns into a statue, are we going to get that flower back? Well, they sure do take a while before they become a statue. All right, whenever you're ready. There we go. And just like that, we don't even get the flower back. It just fully disappears. What happens if we axe them back to life? They've officially lost their flower. So the only way to get the flower is if you have a pair of shears and you go after it now. This myth says that copper golems will trigger a trapped chest. So we got a trapped chest right over here. Let's see if it goes and takes stuff from this exposed copper chest. Will it go and interact with the trapped chest? Oh, sure enough. Youch. It even trapped the friend. Myth confirmed. With all the copper changes, we now have copper torches, which while they look differently from our regular torches, this myth says that copper torches can't be put out with water. Let's give it a shot. I got my copper torch here, got my regular torch. I take a thing of water, splash it on down. There goes the regular torch. And there goes the copper torch. Sure enough, copper torches have no different functionality to our regular torches. They don't give off a different light level, they just have a different texture. So, myth busted. This myth says that copper lanterns will decay light level like the copper bulbs as they start to oxidize. Let's give a little test here. So, if I were to take a regular copper lantern, we'll see if it gives off the same light level as the different stages. Exposed, weathered, and oxidized. And if you're not seeing a difference, there's a reason for that. There is no difference as these oxidize. And the best way to check this out, observer will come down with me here. So we've got our most oxidized one here, already giving off a lot of light, but as I go against it with the axe, there's no change as I remove the oxidation state. Shelves are capable of holding 5,184 items. Well, by the looks of it, I'm only seeing 3, but the whole reason for that is that if I were to take each of these shulker boxes out, a shulker box can hold 27 stacks of 64. So if we have 3 shulker boxes here, that would give us 5,000 1,184 items. Pretty crazy. So, myth confirmed. This myth says that shelves do not interact with hoppers. So, let's see. If I take things out of this shelf, it all fills in from the barrel from the hopper behind it. And if I keep clearing my inventory, it'll keep depositing these same items into the exact same slot. So, myth busted. Copper armor enchants higher than diamond armor. So, I've got my diamond armor here. I've got my copper set here. Let me take my lapis and go try to enchant. Only Unbreaking 3 on my copper leggings, but Unbreaking 3 protection 3 on my diamond leggings. So, why does the myth exist? Well, the reason is that copper tools do enchant higher than diamond, but copper armor, not the case. So, myth busted. This myth states that copper armor and tools will oxidize like their block counterparts. Well, let's find out. Here I've got my copper pickaxe, shovel, sword, axe, and hoe, all down to the minimum amount of durability. But they don't look any different. In fact, there's no way to craft these up using honeycomb even in the crafting table. It just doesn't exist. So, myth busted, but if you wanted something like that, there does exist a resource pack that we'll link in the description that actually makes this a given feature. And now, the longer I use these, the more worn away the tools get. How cool. This myth states that end flashes only occur when you're using shaders or vibrant visuals. But as we can see from that right over there, vibrant visuals doesn't exist in Java Edition just yet, but I'm still able to see the end flashes. But while they occur in vanilla in Java, you have to be using vibrant visuals for it to happen in Bedrock. So, myth busted. End flashes change the light level. So if I were to go and remove my night vision, and we wait for another end flash to start up, while it does visually tint the whole end island, the truth is that if I were to go and look with my F3, it actually doesn't change the light level of any of these given blocks. So, myth busted. And another end flashes myth states that end flashes change based on the random tick. So, let's give it a random tick speed command observer. Okay, up to random tick speed 500, let's give it a shot. All right, we've got our 1. It's no faster. Let's try a tick sprint. Oh, there we go. So tick sprints impact it, but random tick does not. But considering that they have random lengths that can last between 5 and 19 seconds, it might give the illusion that random tick speed's what's happening, but that's not the case. So are you able to change the frequency of these end flashes? Yes, but not through random tick. So myth kinda busted. This one states that you can craft the new copper items that we're seeing in this update with the help of the stone cutter. Let's give it a shot. I got my copper items here. I go into my stone cutter. Well, I can't put the regular copper in there. And while I can put the block of copper, none of the new blocks are available to me. And in fact, the only way for me to get my copper trapdoors or anything else, my copper chains, I'm gonna have to go into the crafting table for this one. And I'm not exactly sure why. If you're gonna allow us to use the stone cutter for other copper items, why not just make that a broad thing? But I don't know. Myth busted. It's cheaper to craft copper chests by making a golem instead of by crafting them with the crafting table. Well, let's find out. So to craft up a copper golem, it would cost 9 ingots and then a carved pumpkin, giving me both a friend and a copper chest. But just the copper chest itself would cost a chest and 8 ingots. So Observer killed off our copper golem and that netted us back 3 ingots. So when we factor that in, if you kill off your copper golem friend, then it actually costs less copper ingots overall. So yes, it is cheaper. Myth confirmed. Copper chests have more storage than our regular chests. Well, here's my regular large chest. We got 54 slots compared to our copper chest, 54 slots. And I think this myth comes from the idea of a lot of mod packs back in the day used to have copper chests and those would be bigger. So while the recipe is more expensive to go and make this, it doesn't give you any more storage. Myth busted. Because shelves are flammable, netherite items inside of a shelf will burn. Well, let's find out. Enable fire tick and get out my flint and steel or lava. What is going to happen to our netherite tools? Oh, looks like the shelf's getting on fire now, and it all pops out. So while the shelf will burn, the netherite tools will all stay safe. So, myth busted. This myth states that copper golems can build copper golems. Well, let's find out. If I get in my golem to start this up, he'll go into the copper chest, taking out the carved pumpkins, drop them off over here into our system, which funnels them into a dispenser, which activates that, building off more and more copper golems. And the whole reason that we have this command block here is just that it's replacing the copper block there to keep it simple. As long as you're pushing copper blocks into place, we can always build copper golems this way. This is all possible in vanilla in survival. Myth confirmed.
And with that, folks, YouTube thinks that you might like this video. So see if they're right and have a good one. All right.